The long run, yeah.
Ryan Saratoga. Right?
Yeah. I told you that one training run I did, I had Ryan drop me off.
Oh, for their, I think
That's
it's
a good
And then I ran home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had right 10 miles.
Well, I voted for the 200 because
He'll enjoy it.
I had a nice,
he's been looking for it. And I've been telling
You're
him.
very ready twice, that's it. I probably have it online now.
yes, on the new Empire State Trail.
It's like 1908 or something.
Yeah. I should see it. I find one trail,
I'd like to welcome everybody. Welcome. Meeting come to order. Pledge of flag this month to be led by Supervisor Frazier.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do the roll call. Here. 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 Here.
Here.
Mr. Bruno,
It's gonna go on.
Here.
Mr. Driscoll,
Here.
Here.
Mr. Drossy,
Here.
Ms. Hogan, Mr. Dickinson,
Here.
Here.
Mr. Wild,
Here.
Mr. Allen,
Here.
Ms. Seaver,
Here.
Mr. Beatty,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Here.
Mr. Garrity.
Here. First order of business to approve the May 5th board meeting, subject to correction by the clerk. Somebody want to make a motion by Supervisor Dickinson, second by Supervisor Gerasi, approve the minutes, subject to clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right, next, we have a few presentations to make. The first presentation will be Employee of the Month, and we will make that to Andrea Kinderman Galino. Andrea and Liza, would you like to speak a little?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm proud to be here today to recognize one of the team members of the Employment and Training Department. Andrea Kinderman Galeno has been the Employment and Training Coordinator for 2 years now, and she's made tremendous impacts for our community in such a short period of time, and despite all the challenges of COVID. Andrea is responsible for building and maintaining communication between the community and our career center so that the public is aware of services, opportunities, and new information. Her work extends beyond our department and into other county departments as well, because she is the creative talent behind the social media flyers that promote many of our open positions in public health, corrections, countryside, et cetera. She also designs and organizes our quarterly newsletter, which you receive. In our partnership with social services, Andrea has been praised by our DSS colleagues for securing at least 10 work experience program sites in our community so that people who continuously face barriers with securing employment can gain experience, skills, and confidence at those designated worksite organizations. Beyond that, she also supports the Summer Youth Employment Program and serves as the primary contact for our Metrics online learning platform. Andrea's work has also extended beyond our county. When Schenectady County could no longer manage our regional virtual workshop logistics due to staffing shortages, Andrea volunteered to help so that this is a valuable service to county and regional residents and that it continues. She creates the monthly virtual workshop calendar, manages the Zoom platform, and analyzes and shares the data from the participants. Thousands of people have participated in these virtual workshops since we launched them in October 2020, and already over 1,100 people so far in 2022. We are grateful for this work because it definitely helped to get more people back to work. Please join me in congratulating Warren County Employee of the Month, Andrea Kinderman Galeno.
Can we take our masks off?
Did
No, Brad.
Well, good stuff for the picture. Hold your breath. Nice smiles.
Okay, we have 4 new graduates from the Leadership Training School. I don't know if anybody's here today. We have Tammy Colbert, a senior caseworker for DSS. And we have Kate Livingston, a resource coordinator for Department of Social Services. We have Maureen Taylor, foster care supervisor, Department of Social Services. And Tracy Terry, family and youth day care supervisor from Department of Social Services. They're not, none of them are here today, but I'll make sure that the director gets these so he can hand them out. And appreciate all the hard work putting in on this program. Okay, Nick Rowell is here from Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District to address the board. Nick?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nick Rowell with Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District, and I'm just here to announce the end of the public review and comment period for the draft 2022 municipal separate storm sewer system annual report. The MS4 program is a stormwater program we assist the county with. So I'm announcing it on behalf of the county. You can find the draft report and then soon the final report at the Soil and Water Conservation District website, as well as the county website. And if you'd like any additional information on this stormwater program, please visit our Soil and Water website. It's a pretty in-depth stormwater program. It's got a municipal boundary for Warren County. It's regulated by the New York State DEC. And it deals with all the stormwater infrastructure within that boundary for county facilities. And any questions, please contact our office or DPW as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Nick.
Next, we'll open up the floor for a public comment. Anybody wish to address? Sure, Mr. Daly. Just state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Daly. I've been with the county since 2008. I'm here today because of the pay discrepancies between the towns and what Warren County employees make. If you look at the pay scale for Queensbury DPW, they start out at $23 per hour. You go to Warren County, we start out at $17 per hour. There is a big difference. When you work at Warren County, you can only make, when you start out, roughly $35,000 a year. You go to Queensbury, you're gonna make $47,000 a year. That puts a lot more food on your plate. I've been told that Kevin Hayjoles has asked the board to give us a $2 an hour pay raise. That is nothing more than a slap in the face to the employees. $2 an hour at $19 an hour, that's not even close enough. So I went to my January 6th committee and asked them if they had any letters that might help us out. They found a letter dated November 23rd, 2001, sent to Rachel and sent to the lawyer, and no comment has been received yet to try to open the contract to negotiate. That makes no sense when we send letters out and hear nothing back from the board. And then we comes to 2000, when we had to break off contract talks. From 2000 to 2021, and 6 months after that, we got a retroactive pay for 6 months. The first year, we didn't get nothing put in our paychecks, but yet on paper, it shows we got a 2% pay raise. Nothing went on my plate for my kids. Nothing went nowhere. It's about time that the Board of Supervisors realize that they got to bring us up to Queensbury level. Giving us a percentage instead of $1 pay raise is not acceptable. That letter was sent out in November to open up the contract to negotiate pay, and nothing was done by Rachel or the lawyer. Someone's got to be responsible to get Warren County back where we should be. The towns make more money than we do. And yet we work in the same towns as they are. Somebody's got to stand up and do what's right and bring Warren County up to Queensbury. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Ms. Seaver?
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sure.
I did receive that letter and sent it on to the county attorney's office because that's what I was directed to do. The county attorney's office at that point in time, it's a legal response that's required. In November, I immediately did send that on, but I was prohibited from having any contact with you about it. That being said, I was removed off the union negotiation team. I am obviously no longer chairwoman of the board, but your budget officer is also your personnel officer. You have your chairman of the board, and we have a county attorney that does have that letter. I anticipate that they are working on that. I'm sure our county administrator could speak to it, but I don't disagree with you, sir. We have a lot of work to do in terms of the pay rates in our county. And I thank you for coming today, and I certainly hope that there is action by the current leadership of this board.
I agree with you. Here's another thing that's not good. You got $12 million given to the county to spend over the COVID. And here you see 200,000 being given to the Dome, who is owned by a person individually. It's not a county home. It's not ran by the county. It's ran by an individual, and they're trying to give him $200,000. Give me a break. When you see people that work for Warren County cleaning this building, buildings and grounds, and have to go over to the other building and get social services so they can make ends meet, something ain't right. And if you can look in the mirror in the morning and say that's okay for people to work 40 hours a week at Warren County, then go get social services so they can survive, you don't belong in the job you're in.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yes,
Just a
Supervisor Dixon.
quick comment to the 200,000 you're talking about is our tax money. It's not taxpayers.
It was the money you were given in that $12 million. But why would you give it to a private owner? You're gonna have all these hotels can come and say, I need money because I didn't get enough rooms filled during that time frame.
Well, they're all welcome to do that. He came in and made a very good argument about lost revenue during COVID, and that's what that money is.
We worked during COVID on holidays, and what did we get? Nothing. We didn't even get a pay raise.
That has nothing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Daly.
I gotta go before I lose my cool. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Daly.
Okay. All right. Anybody else wish to address the board this morning? I can tell you that, from our point of view, we are in discussions. I think we've had some discussions with CSEA about the reallocation of that. And I can tell you in past, we tried to reallocate the DPW salaries across the board one time in negotiations. It was a few years back, and we were turned down by the union. But we are going to have discussions with them.
Just for the record, the collective bargaining agreement spells out a process called reallocation, which it's a way to address salaries and specific titles that are too low without reopening the entire contract. So the process in that collective bargaining agreement, if anybody's interested in reading it, we can get you the text of it. Typically, we start this in May. The union will give us a list of positions, and the department heads will give us a list of positions, and we'll go through them and bring recommendations through the committee structure to adjust salaries for certain titles. Basically, what we do is grade adjustments on the salary schedule. We sat down with CSEA first thing in January to fast track that, tell them that we didn't have to wait until May, we could do it now. We're waiting, I believe, still for titles from the union to do that. In the meantime, we've engaged our department heads, as we typically would this time of year, to give us the titles from their perspective that need to go through reallocation. So that process is well underway, and I wish it was already finished.
Yes, Mr. McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This has been going on for a while, and Kevin,
has brought this up in the past, that he's losing people because they're going to the towns making more money. And, Mr. Daly, I think, was actually correct in saying it's kind of an embarrassment that that we have roads that the county takes care of in these towns where the town employees make more money. And I understand, being the taxpayers' money and everything else. But it really is a shame, and this is the second time I've heard it, that, we have employees that have to go to social services to get a little extra. And I would like to say that we really should stay on top of this and move a little quicker, but this has been going on for years. And to come and hear this, in the public, it doesn't really make us look that good either. So I would like to make sure that we stay on it. And the cost of everything has gone up. Being a business owner, it's just trifling. I am just amazed at some of these prices of just materials that are coming back. And it's really scary what we're heading into. And I would just like to really make sure that we stay on top of this and not see disgruntled, people, employees. And I really hope that nothing happens, beyond him coming up and standing up for the people, for DPW and everybody else that works for the county. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I left one piece out on reallocation. The reason why the process involves both the union and the county is that if the county unilaterally goes out and decides which titles to increase the pay for, what about the titles where we didn't do that? In the eyes of the Public Employee Relations Board, that's an improper practice for an employer to do certain titles and not others. You have to have the union involved in that. So that's the process we're trying to work through reallocation. And absent that, you would have to reopen the contract if the union's not willing to do reallocation. If the union wants to reopen the contract, their lawyers would need to contact our lawyers and make that formal request.
Any other public comment? Okay. Nothing done?
Hi, Chairman Gary. No, there's nothing on YouTube.
Okay, before I move on, I just ask everybody to bow their heads and have a moment of silence for Fred Austin, who passed away. Fred Austin served as County Highway DPW Superintendent for 28 years. From 1969 to 1997, he served after a 30-year highway superintendent, Hap Osborne. Fred was well known across the county. I think in the future, there will be some services on Fred's behalf. He was president of the New York State Highway Association, Highway Superintendent Association in 1981. And then Fred was instrumental in starting the Town Highway Superintendent Association for the county. And that's been an active association for 53 years. And those who didn't know, his sidebar was he was a paranormal. He did a lot with ghosts, and perhaps Fred will come back and visit us someday. But I'll ask just for a moment of silence in Fred Austin's memory. I know anybody who lived in the county for any number of years knew Fred and knew all his attributes. And he did many, many great things for Warren County. He could tell you about anything going on in the county, this building or any building, the airport, anything in Warren County, Fred has touched. So he's going to be deeply missed by his friends and relatives. And I'll just ask for a moment of silence for Fred. Thank you. My report for the month, I attended numerous supervisors, committee meetings. Did have a negotiation session with the Teamsters. We hope to have something in the month of June with the Teamsters contract. I think we're getting close to a settlement. And then went to the tourism interviews a couple times, and also I met with the Salvation Army to talk about our Office of Aging Meals project. So I believe that's going to be talked about at a board meeting next month. So that's our time this past month. Reported chairs. Edna?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health Services met on April the 25th, and as a result of that, we have resolutions 229 through 234. 229 deals with authorizing the agreement with Adirondack Community College to operate and further develop the peer-to-peer program. 230 and 231 deal with authorizing agreements with interested school districts to provide services for the preschool special ed. 232 and 233 are authorizing agreements with personnel again to provide services for the preschool special ed. And then 234 authorizes renewal amendment agreement with strategic healthcare programs to provide benchmarking and consumer assessment of healthcare providers and systems survey administration as required by Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And I would appreciate your support on those. Thank you.
Supervisor Drossy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee met on Monday, April 25th. Today, I asked for consideration for passage of resolutions 216 through 224. During our meeting, we had two executive sessions that we conducted. One was with the public defender candidates, and the second was with Sheriff LaFar, reference to public safety and security issues on the Warren County campus. Our committee will meet again next Monday. I encourage not just the committee members, but anyone with interest to attend. A couple of presentations will take place there. Last month, the sheriff raised an issue about concerns with emergency mental health services response along with law enforcement. So we've got a company that actually provides those services, and will explain in detail how they respond, when they respond, days of the week, time of day, things like that. And also we've asked our emergency service director to give us an update on a reverse emergency notification system with residents, whether it's countywide or by individual towns, so that in times of emergency, we can communicate effectively with our residents. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Dixon.
I'm sorry, sleep at the wheel. OCTAX met on April 25th. We had one resolution, basically it's housekeeping. And it's resolution 235. If anybody has any questions, I'll attempt to answer them. ARPA, we did a lot of talking. Supervisor, did we have a motion come out of that?
Yep, we did more than just talking, but we did do a lot of discussing about the process going forward. If you don't mind, Chairman. We did talk about the application process for grants that will be going out to not-for-profits and to our small businesses, but it was really good discussion. We still need some information from our county attorney's office, and the planning department is finalizing those contracts and the applications. Before you have three resolutions, 260, 261, and 262. The first one is authorizing the county planning department to allocate 3% of the total ARPA funds towards administrative costs. They've been working very hard on making sure that we're able to do this in a clean and transparent process, and they're going to have a lot more work once we start distributing the funds. So I think that that's really worthy, and that was passed through the committee. The second one is a very important distribution of funds to the Community Services Board, which will use that money, $1 million, for behavioral health services, which includes mental health services and physical health, substance abuse prevention and treatment, which we saw from the survey to our public in the fall. Mental health services and mental health needs were very, very important coming out of COVID. And then the last one is authorizing funds, a disbursement for a small business grant, financial assistance to the Adirondack Sports Complex, which was referenced earlier by a member of our public. It is $200,000 going to this entity that was not able to obtain any other financial assistance. And that was passed through committee as well, as you can see. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Supervisor Malino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's no report. Tourism has a meeting this coming Monday. Thank you.
Supervisor Stroud.
Well, thank you. Legislative Rules and Government Operations met this past Tuesday. And we discussed a variety of things, but the one item I'm going to highlight for today's meeting is a letter that I just signed that's going to be going to Governor Kathy Hochul, Senator Dan Stack, and Assemblyman Matt Simpson. I guess as part of the budget process, we lost our supplemental funding for court-ordered mental health competency restoration efforts. We used to get 50%. Now we're getting 0. We're going to be expected to pay 100% of it. Costs that could be up to $300,000 for 2022. And so those letters are asking that they at least return it to the 50% level where we got reimbursed by 50%, and we would prefer 75% level. So in bringing this to our attention was Stony Creek Supervisor Thomas, thank you. And Rob York, Director of Community Services, also assisted with this, as well as our Administrator, Ryan Moore. So those letters are going to be going out today. And I just wanted you to know it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Economic Growth and Development met on the 26th of April. There's 2 resolutions before you today that I'm hoping for your support. Number 225 is just authorizing the Summer Youth Employment Training Program, an agreement we have with BOCES. And number 263 is authorizing a grant application for a regional trail study related to the connections to the Empire Trail. And this one has no match required. So I appreciate your support. Lastly, we will be meeting on the 24th of May, Tuesday. I appreciate everyone allowing economic growth and development to happen first thing in the morning, because we have Mayor Collins from Glens Falls joining us. And I just thought it was appropriate to have him not sit through 3 hours waiting for us to get through to the last committee meeting. So I thank the board for that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Supervisor McGowan.
No committee report, thank you.
Supervisor Seaver, I just want to mention the crime victim specialist ceremony we attended. Also, Supervisor Seaver gave our presentation at the SUNY Adirondack graduation ceremony for Otto Miller, isn't it? Otto Miller. And then also in our packet, there is a proclamation for somebody that Supervisor Seaver worked with a long time, and now she's retiring, Miss Perone, and I asked Rachel if you wouldn't mind speaking on those today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to thank both you and our Personnel Budget Chair for the opportunity, who also oversees higher education, for the opportunity to not only welcome our graduates and their families to Warren County last Saturday, but also to provide a certificate of excellence, which is summarized here in your proclamation to Mr. Otto Miller. He'll be here hopefully at our June 15th meeting in the evening. We created that evening meeting to recognize our college graduate. It's also my understanding we're sending letters to every graduate from SUNY Adirondack on behalf of the board, and I appreciate that effort. They worked hard, and this was the first graduation since COVID. So we're excited to celebrate that, and I appreciate that opportunity. In addition to that, in your packet, as our chairman alluded to, we have a proclamation not only for Elder Abuse Awareness Day, but for Senior Crime Victim Advocate Perone. She's worked with the New York State Police and has assisted crime victims for 3 decades now. But what you may not know about Senior Crime Victim Advocate Perone is that she started her career here in Warren County. She was a CPS worker. And what we've watched over the last 32 years of her service has been an incredible amount of compassion, advocacy, education, and training that she has provided for our community, but she has helped victims in the most terrible of times during their worst moments. And that includes elders, it includes our most vulnerable. And she wraps up her career here at the end of May, and it's only fitting to thank her for her tireless service. And we look forward to being able to provide this proclamation to her. I ask for your support on this when we vote, and certainly feel free to reach out and congratulate her and thank her for her hard work. Lastly, congratulations, Sharon. Thank you. And lastly, I just wanted to highlight that as the NACO year for the National Association of Counties is concluding, every member has an opportunity to fill out an application to ask to sit on a steering committee or another policy committee. I'm fortunate to sit on 3 of those. They're 1-year terms. And if you're involved in NACO, I would highly suggest that this is the type of information we bring back to our county and we help our community with, so that those applications are now open and that term starts in July and is for a period of 1 year. So please feel free to see their website, and the more Warren County supervisors involved in that advocacy, the better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a bipartisan coalition of supervisors that are trying to help county residents with the appalling price of a gallon of gasoline and the taxes associated with it. Supervisor Sieber, Bramer, Diamond, McGowan, Bruno, Hogan, myself, we all agree that the primary focus of our jobs is to do the very best we can for our county residents. Whatever help we can as elected officials do to lessen the tax burden on our residents, we're going to try to do. As you can tell, this isn't even remotely political, since it's a very bipartisan coalition. It's called doing the right thing. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about what 13 other counties are currently doing and the state of New York is doing starting June 1st. That is eliminating or decreasing the taxes associated with a gallon of gas. Gas is currently about $5 a gallon. Best estimates are it's going to be $6 a gallon by late August. Now, here in Warren County, we charge a tax of 3 cents per dollar on every gallon of gas. So henceforth, if it's $5 a gallon, that's 15 cents a gallon in county tax. We're going to be proposing a resolution, not today, but in the near future, that Warren County only collect the taxes up to $2. So $3, $4, and $5 will not have county tax associated with it. This will be approximately a 9 cents per gallon savings, along with the 16 cents that the state's going to be cutting. That's 25 cents a gallon. To me, that's significant. To many people, that's significant. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. I went and got my haircut last week. I don't know if you noticed it or not. For those of you who did, thank you. But I went and got my haircut last week, and the hairdresser went up $2 per cut. That's fine. You know, prices are going up. So I said to her, I said, did you lose any customers? And she said, well, I lost one. She says, I got a lady who drives in from South Glens Falls. And she said, I can't afford a gallon of gas to go all the way from South Glens Falls all the way into Queensbury. She couldn't afford the gallon of gas increases to go get her haircut. So she says, I'm going to have to look for somebody right here in South Glens Falls. She didn't mention the $2 raise. She mentioned the fact that the price of gas was going to stop her from going from South Glens Falls to Queensbury. That's real. This is significant. This isn't for the rich. This isn't for this actually hurts the very most vulnerable people in our county, the poorest people. There's over 50,000 vehicles registered in Warren County. There's over 13,000 commercial trucks and vehicles registered in Warren County. Over 63,000 are registered in Warren County. This affects everyone. In fact, the recent poll showed that 70% of Americans think the gallon of gas and inflation is the most pressing issue in the country. Now, these 13 counties that have passed this, passed it with a board that agreed unanimously to help out their residents. Somebody can say, well, why didn't all the other counties do it? Well, not all the other counties can afford it. We recently had a $4.8 million surplus over our budget for the first 4 months. Now, if you extrapolate that out, that comes to about $14 million in surplus for the year. We currently have, I believe it's $34 million surplus in the county. Now, some can say, hey, you know, Doug, we want to keep these taxes. We want to keep getting this tax money from our residents and so forth. I agree. We got to have some tax money to pave the roads, to do the right things for the residents. But I'm a firm believer in taking less of their money and letting them keep it in their pocket than giving it to us and let us and saying, we know best. We need more of your money. I believe when we have an opportunity to give them more of their own money and keep it in their pockets, we do it. It's the right thing to do. It's the ethical thing to do, and it's the proper thing to do. New York State's going to do it, and 13 other counties, and hopefully our county in the near future. This won't hurt property tax like some believe. We have a surplus. If some want to use some of the surplus this year towards lowering the property tax via increasing, putting it towards the levy, I'd be all for that. Again, I know Supervisor Bremer brought that up a few years ago. It was shot down. I've supported it. So we'll have so much surplus that we can do both things, helping out the residents. If we want to lower the property tax rate, I'm all for it. But we have enough money also to help them out and let them keep money in their own pockets for a gallon of gas. This proposal, if it's passed, and this resolution, which I said will be coming in the next few weeks, will be effective September 1st, right about the time most experts are predicting $6 a gallon. That's scary to me. The estimated savings to the taxpayers will be about $1 million. About $1 million we're going to let them keep in their pockets and not in ours. I don't know why this would be political, and I'm hoping that people can rise above the pettiness and do what's right for the residents. I'm hoping that we can come together as a board and vote unanimously on this resolution that will be coming in the next weeks. And I hope that we all can feel the pain that every one of your neighbors feel every single day. Every single day. I hope we all can feel that pain. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave this meeting. One of my best friend's mother's funeral starts in 15 minutes. So I will not be around, but when we do have this resolution presented, I'll be glad to participate in any questions. I do know Supervisors Sieber and Bramer and others are very well versed on all this, but it's a team and bipartisan collective effort. That's all it is. We're trying to help the people to put us here. That's all it is. That's all it's about. Thank you.
Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On May 5th, the Budget Committee convened. There was 2 referrals. One was the Criminal Justice Committee dealing with the public defender, an increase in salary. That was referred to the Personnel Committee. The second one was from the Health Services, Mental Health. And that was about the court-ordered CPL 730 expenses and a lack of money to pay for the first quarter. The first quarter had run up a tally of approximately $140,000. That was referred to Finance with a $300,000 recommendation from the Budget Committee. And there was also the referral to legislative that Supervisor Stroh mentioned about the letter. And I would thank Mr. Moore for putting that letter together. After budget, personnel met. We got a report about the about SUNY Adirondack from President Duffy. She mentioned Otto Miller. I want to thank Supervisor Sieber for representing Warren County and representing me at the graduation ceremony. Thank you. And there's also 3 resolutions that were generated out of the Personnel Committee, 246, 47, and 48. 247 is appointing Edward Fitzgerald to the SUNY Board of Trustees for a 7-year term. 246 is, there's a few things. Decreasing the 9th Assistant Public Defender's salary. Increasing the 1st Assistant Public Defender's salary. Creating a part-time up to 20 hours community service worker for the Social Services Department, and also creating the position of a 3rd Assistant County Attorney, and deleting the position of a tax coordinator. And I would say thank you to Ray for his years of service, and I hope he enjoys his retirement. The one thing that didn't make it out of the Personnel Committee, much to my chagrin, was the Warren County Travel Education Vehicle Use Policy. I thought the changes that were in that policy dealt mainly with the $500 limit for department heads, and I would have thought that the committee could have moved that out. We could have passed it, and if there's other changes, which I haven't heard of any yet, we could have made them at a later date, but that didn't happen. So,
Okay, thank you.
that's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Renman.
I have nothing to report.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works resolutions are 236 through 241. Most are straightforward, but I would bring to your attention 237 and 240. 237 establishes the guidelines for Superintendent Hajos to approve change orders relative to county work. 240 rescinds previous authorizations. But I would mention as an aside that should there not be sufficient dollars within the budget, that of course would have to come back for approval. So we're talking about dollars that are appropriated for these projects. 241 is an agreement with Peckham Road Corporation for East River Drive. And there is and that's pretty much it. Mr. Hajos is in a SALT Summit meeting, but he can be pulled from that meeting should any supervisor have any specific questions on any resolutions. Just let him know and we'll text message him and pull him out of his meeting. And that really concludes my report. And then at appropriate time, I'd like to request a roll call.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Committee met on May 5th. Today we have resolutions 214 and 215, plus resolutions 249 through 259. They're found on pages 5, 6, and 7 of the index. 9 of the 13 resolutions coming out of finance are roll call. I will summarize some here. 249 through 255 are DPW related and are mostly housekeeping to close out projects or move money to fund approved projects. Supervisor Conover just mentioned one of them, East Call Street. The 256 is asking to dip into the fund balance to cover mental health service costs. This was described by Supervisor Thomas. Supervisor Stroh for because of cutting funding. We need to, well, I guess you both mentioned it. It's $300,000. It's a lot to cover this unexpected cost. And it has approval of the budget to take it out of fund balance.
257, 258 is also housekeeping for public health and the sheriff, and 259 is for revised investment policy that will allow the county to earn more interest income on the money we hold. It's up, limit of $1 million for overnight transfers to 25 million that we can invest in. You'll also notice that this did not come through committee, but it's finance related. Mortgage tax report is in your packet today too, 1,762,000. Maybe the administrator would talk about that. Won't take any wind out of the sails there, but it's a good report on that. Also, you will see in the resolutions here, $6.2 million for road improvements, the bonds, they've been signed, and all of that is in order to fund these approved projects. Also, I attended the monthly National Association of County Resiliency monthly call that they have with a presentation from a company out of Rochester. It's a good lead. I will follow up with the county administrator on pursuing some services. There was no NISAC Ag and Rural Affairs Committee meeting this month, but I did attend the Association of Towns and Villages meeting as a board member there. That's my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor.
Yeah, I just would like to correct. I said that public works resolutions were through 241. They're through 245.
Supervisor Diamond.
No reports.
Supervisor.
There are three items that I'd like to call your attention to. Resolution 226, 227, and 228, basically housekeeping type issues as it relates to real property tax services. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Bramer.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Supervisor Bromo, you're on Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County facilities met on Tuesday, April 26th. We had no resolutions resulting from that other than one that actually went through finance. It's resolution 249. It's the closing of several capital projects, but we did discuss a number of items with regard to the airport, the Rich Air T hangar, that's 3-bay hangar proposal. There's an environmental issue regarding some wetlands that's being pursued with the Army Corps of Engineers. And additionally, we have meeting next Tuesday, and we'll be discussing updates to the design of the front entrance to the municipal building center. Additionally, the update on the asbestos abatement for the old jail. We'll have updated plans regarding that and cost, et cetera. And additionally, we will have updated plans for the Joseph Warren Center. Labella Associates is the architect that's working on that, and they've done a pretty nice job presenting 3 different options for that center if it goes forward, and they'll be presented at next week's meeting. Additionally, we had discussed whether an RFP would be required for a review of our utility charges, and the county attorney recommended that we issue an RFP for these services. We've had interest, I think, I can't remember the name of the outfit, but they would look at the utility charges, and if any overcharges are discovered, they would be returned to the county, and I think they take a small percentage of that. And, I think that was about it. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. The Human Services Committee met on Monday, April 25th. There was a lot of good conversations, but no resolutions came out of
last month's committee meeting. The next committee meeting will be this coming Monday, May 23rd, at or about 11:55 a.m. I love morning meetings. I'd like to also congratulate the 4 individuals from Department of Social Services for graduating the county's leadership training program. I don't know how many supervisors. I think there's a couple who have, Supervisor Sieber. I'm looking forward to signing up for that. I'll make some space in my calendar to do that. We can never stop growing as leaders and as individuals. So on the agenda for Monday will be the Department of Social Services, Countryside Adult Home, and Veteran Services. I was also pleased to partner with Supervisor Frazier and congratulate SUNY Adirondack for receiving the peer-to-peer program. The veterans are certainly going to benefit from that, and I've already spoken to some veterans recently who are very excited about that program really growing to be its very best. I had a report on some exciting activities of Cornell Cooperative Extension of Warren County. I grabbed the wrong folder this morning. I have sent that to members of the board who are part of that committee. I will send it out to the entire board, but the short story is that they're doing wonderful work up there. And if you have a chance to jump on their website, I encourage you to do so. I know we have very busy meetings on Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday, I've invited each member of the Board of Supervisors to join me and others at a tour of by the Glens Falls Housing Authority. I sit on their board of the work that's been done at the Cronin High Rise, Stitchman Towers, and LaRose Gardens, all in Glens Falls. We'll be meeting at LaRose site at 9:30 a.m. And the community partners, Wilder Balder, will be there also. Certainly, if you can't make it because of an obligation here at the county, if you have someone from your towns or a designated alternate, give me a call, and we would certainly encourage those individuals to come and bring the news back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Report by County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Chair of Finance alluded to the mortgage tax. There's no secret, it's been a seller's market, and we've done very well in those revenues throughout the course of this year. As of April 30th, the County Clerk's Department has received $909,000 in 2021 compared to $1,060,000 in 2022. That's 17% higher than where we were going last year. And so far, the revenue that we've received, again, as of April 30th, is 47% of this year's budget. So it's on target to exceed the budget. Just for comparison's sake, last year, the budget for the mortgage tax was $2 million, and we ended the year with $3,080,000. This year's budget is $2.25 million. So if things keep going the way they're going, we'll exceed that as well. I have a potential request for an amendment to Resolution 215, which is the resolution we have each month adding expenses and revenues to the budget. The ARPA committee met on May 10th, which was after the Finance Committee meeting on May 5th. Typically, when we have appropriations that come out of the ARPA committee, we like to wait and run them through finance unless it's an urgent situation. And I talked with our two ARPA chairs, Supervisor Bramer and Supervisor Dickinson, about whether or not we should amend the budget today for the $200,000 for the dome. They thought that it would be appropriate to propose that today. So if the board is willing to make that amendment, again, it's to resolution 215. It'll be under the Board of Supervisors. We're going to add $200,000 in expenses and revenues. The expense code is Fund A, the general fund, Department 1010, Board of Supervisors, Subdepartment 4999, which indicates it's an ARPA expense, and expense code 470, contracts. And we would add the same amount on the revenue side. Again, Fund A, general fund, Department code 1010, Board of Supervisors, Subdepartment 4999, which indicates ARPA, and revenue object code 4090, which is Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund.
We do that now.
If you'd like to.
Supervisor McGowan?
Do we have to make a motion to change
Yeah.
the rules, or can I make that a motion?
You can make a motion to amend resolution
Amendment
215.
215.
I'll make a
You make
motion
that.
to amend the rules.
And the rules.
Yeah,
Wait,
just
wait.
to amend the resolution.
You don't have to amend the rules. You're just amending the resolution.
Amend the resolution.
And we have a second by Supervisor Stroud. Discussion.
So is this related to,
215.
but there was another 200,000?
It's to appropriate the funds that would be authorized under resolution 262.
262. Thank you.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And just a brief update on my activities since the last board meeting. On Tuesday, May 10th, I participated in a tabletop exercise, which was held over at the sheriff's office. A lot of our first responders in this community were represented there. And what that was we game out a situation where, in this case, it was a vehicle ramming in the middle of the summer in Lake George. And we game out how everybody would respond to that if it was happening in real time. The session was led by John Gibb, who is a former director of the New York State Emergency Management Office, a real professional. He served 4 governors in very high positions in emergency management. He came up to me after the session and complimented us and said that we were top notch in terms of groups that he's dealt with before. So I was very proud of that. On Wednesday, the 11th, the budget negotiation team reached a tentative agreement with the Teamsters, who are representing the correction officers. That agreement is up for ratification by the membership, and assuming it gets ratified, it'll be presented for board approval beginning at the Personnel Committee meeting this coming month. I want to thank the sheriff, the undersheriff, the HR director, the county attorney, and our outside counsel, Larry Paltrowitz, as well as the supervisors who participate in that process. We believe it was a very well done negotiation. Neither side was totally happy at the end, and that's kind of the way you want it to end. As you all know, I missed some time last week and the beginning of this week with a COVID situation in my family. Not to get on the soapbox, but just to reiterate, it's still out there. It's thankfully not as deadly as it was a year or two ago, but it's no picnic. I can attest to that. So be careful. And yesterday, of course, I attended the tourism interviews, and that concludes my report.
Okay. Assistant County Attorney Robert Twiger, any report?
Good morning. No, I do not have a report for the county attorney's office today, though I do expect that the county attorney's office will be able to give a report at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Reading of communications.
Report from Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation, audited financial statements and supplemental and other information. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation financial report dated November 30th, 2021. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation financial report dated January 31st, 2022. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation financial report dated February 28th, 2022. Warren County Treasurer, Warren County Annual Financial Report Update Document 2021.
Reading of resolutions.
Resolution numbers 216 through 263 were distributed to the board and posted to the Warren County website on Tuesday, May 17th, along with the mortgage tax report and three proclamations which met the distribution deadline specified in the rules of the board. The three proclamations are Proclamation 25, Elder Abuse Awareness Day, Proclamation 26, Warren County Board of Supervisors, SUNY Adirondack Certificate of Excellence to Otto Miller, Proclamation 27, Proclamation of Appreciation to Aaron Perone.
Okay. Discussion on and public comment on proposed resolution. Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask for a roll call on resolutions 262. And I'd like to have some discussion on that. I have some questions at the appropriate time. Is now.
Go ahead.
Oh, fine.
Discussion on 262.
Yeah, I certainly don't have any problem with helping our business community. I certainly think that's a great thing, and I know that what I'm about to ask is nothing.
Supervisor Conover, can you speak into the mic?
Has nothing to do with the applicant here. I just want to make sure that the process was open and fair, and that and to maybe have a better understanding of the process. What I see lacking in the resolution, for example, is that they received X number of applications from around the county, and that they're presently deliberating on some number. And this is the first of a number of business applications from around the county that they would expect would come before the board at some point in time. And so perhaps Mr. Dickinson or Ms. Bramer can speak to the outreach to the various chambers and how many applications. You don't have to recite which ones that may be a privilege at this state, but how many applications have been received and it's to date, and where people might obtain the application for this, and perhaps our friends in the media community can help get the message out that there are significant ARPA funds available, and that our business community really needs to apply to ARPA for funding. I mean, in this one example, there's 200,000 today plus 45,000 in knock tax funding. So there's going to be an appropriation, if approved, of $245,000 for a Warren County business. And so at that, I would just say, you know, is there any response to that? I mean, normally what I'd like to see is that we went through the process, that we received 60 applications. Of the 60 applications, we approved 8, totaling the following amount of money, and for the following reasons. And that way we know we've maintained a good process, an open process, a level playing field, and maybe there's someone that could speak to that.
Okay. Supervisor Dixon, you want to respond?
Well, I'm going to start, and then I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair. We have a lot of applications. We're working mostly through the planning department, and we are trying to categorize them and put them in some kind of order. What we attempt to do is every meeting, and we meet more than once a month. At every meeting, we try to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, whatever we have sufficient information and know exactly what they want to do. We'll look at their application and we'll approve as we go along. It's a long process, and it's going to take us a while, but I think we're doing very well. Mr. Miller had a great presentation showing that he lost significant amount of money due to COVID. Among all of his other travesties he's had over there, he did suffer greatly from COVID, and that's why we awarded him that amount of money. Rather than muddy the waters trying to answer the rest of your questions, I'm going to ask Supervisor Bramer if she would jump in.
Thank you, Chairman. As co-chair mentioned, we have had a lot of applications and we've had a ton of public outreach. I mentioned the public survey earlier. That was just one step in the process. We also solicited information and applications early on last year, and we've continued to do that. That website is still available, and I think that we can ask Don to continue pushing that out to the public. The process is still being worked on. It's not perfect. It's taking a long time, and that is one of the reasons why the committee agreed to move forward with this particular application, because Mr. Miller put forward a compelling reason why he needed the funds, why he was not able to get other funds available through pandemic recovery. And the committee agreed that this was an appropriate use of our set aside for the small business financial resources, financial grants. We put aside a large chunk for that. We put aside other money for not-for-profits, which I want to mention includes our arts industry. And we got a lot of applications for that. So we're continuing to look at all of those things. And we will have a separate application that goes out, and we'll ask Don to push that out to the business community as well. But there are still other funds available, and we are trying to do the best we can. And I will mention, because of our public comment earlier, that funding to our employees, I'm looking at the treasurer, is something that we also continue to look at in the ARPA committee. How can we make sure that our employees feel like they were compensated for the work that they did during COVID? It's been a very difficult process, and the committee is working very hard. We're meeting regularly. We're working with our planning department. We're working with the Office of Mental Health. We're working with as many people as we can, bringing in stakeholders and bringing in the public. So we're trying to be as transparent and open as we can. This was a decision of the committee.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As part of tourism, I think we're doing the right thing here. This is a outfit and a facilities that we can really use in the wintertime. We're trying to push more winter sports to keep the 365 going and bring people in for that. And I think this is one of the top-notch facilities that can handle that stuff. So I'm fully approve this.
Okay, we have Supervisor Thomas, Supervisor Weil, and Supervisor Conover. And Supervisor Seaver. Go ahead, Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Miller put forth a lot of documentation and a very compelling argument. I think he tried every avenue to obtain funds from the federal government or the state, and was basically, for one reason or another, blocked at each turn, and thereby that compelled me or made me feel that we should help this business.
Supervisor Weil.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I've come across some information that I think is important for every supervisor to understand. And with Mr. Miller here, I would like to suggest and make a motion that we go into executive session to speak about some of the specifics about his business that he would prefer not to be shared. And I would request that the board support this.
Okay, hold on for a minute. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, no, I think with the assurances of Supervisor Bramer that the various chambers and business community are going to be contacted and receive applications from the ARPA committee so that whatever businesses have been affected by this terrible COVID disease will have the opportunity to apply for funding to the ARPA committee. That's the kind of response that I was looking for, and her statement to that effect is more than satisfactory to the supervisor. Thank you.
Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you. To the supervisor from Bolton, I'm happy that you're satisfied with the information before you today, but if you would please just indulge me for a moment. I was very pleased to have attended NACO last year and learned about how other counties were going out and asking their community how best to spend this funding. And I applaud all our members of the board, but particularly our two co-chairs who have worked through a very long process. This could have been done in a very different way and has been done differently in other counties, but we have stuck in there for the long haul, and most importantly went out to our community and said, how would you like us to spend these ARPA dollars? Where are you hurting? How can we help you recover and rebound? In May, it looks like in May or June of last year, we went out with an ARPA survey. We got those results back on 8/20/21 and shared them with the board. To this date, that application process is still open on our website. The chamber sits as a member Never before have we, we went through, probably not never, but we created this ARPA committee with community members and staff that all have a vote. We've had some very heated debates in those discussions. Some I've been on a side where I agree with, and some I've been on a side I disagree with. And just last month, or perhaps it was a month before, we had a very spirited debate about funding to Countryside. But we all agreed that we would respect the debate and the process, and it is on YouTube, the whole dialogue about this. And I would hope that members here today would support the decision coming out of such a well thought out and highly debated topic. And having also heard from the applicant himself at that meeting. But I hope that this type of dialogue raises awareness to our community. We've had an article in the paper, but I think just one or two. Mr. Lehman has continued to put this information out. I have shared it extensively on both my personal, on our personal page, but I also know that we have shared it across the board, many of us. So I do hope other businesses come out. But to answer your question specifically on what other businesses have applied for this specific type of funding after we allocated the money, one, Mr. Miller. And we are still continuing to work on those applications in the rubric and the scoring, but that hasn't slowed us down from applying these funds. This is critical to our community, and we don't want to wait any longer to continue to help when people need it the most right now. So I certainly hope that what you've heard here today is enough to have you support this resolution. And I thank you very much for asking for those additional details. I hope it inspires other businesses to apply for this type of funding that is so sorely needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. And then we had a request to go into executive session.
Sure, I think Supervisor McGowan had his hand up.
Stroud, Supervisor, sorry.
Oh, no, McGowan had.
Oh,
his hand
McGowan,
up before.
I missed it.
We happen to be talking, I wanted to talk about 246.
Oh.
But right now we're on this one, so can we?
Yeah, we have to finish this.
Okay, if we stay with this one.
Then I will take that. I have a
Which one are you
question on the current one.
Okay.
On this current one here, on ARPA funding, co-chair Supervisor Bramer had mentioned there was a set aside for businesses. What is that amount out of the total?
Well, go ahead. Somebody want to answer it real quick, because we did have a request. Go ahead.
I can't remember the exact dollar amount. I'm sorry. I think it was around, do you know, 1 million? I was going to say 600,000.
Okay. Supervisor Stroud last, and then we had a request to go into executive session, which I got to check with the attorney whether.
All right, well, the dome plays an integral part in where we're trying to bring our county in terms of tourism. Other counties are trying to catch up to us. When you're talking about bicycling experience, mountain biking experience, softball, soccer, basketball, any of the sports, we're becoming quite renowned for our ability to handle large events, sporting events. It's brought in a lot of money to this county. The dome, COVID, and other hardships, we're well aware of. We cannot afford to lose the dome. We absolutely need the dome and need to support it in any way that we can, because that would be a major loss if we were to lose that. Thank you.
Now we had a Mr. Supervisor Wild. What was your request?
That we go into executive session to allow Mr. Miller to communicate some of the specifics about his business and his request.
We need a legal reason.
Yeah, we could go under executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105F, to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation.
Do you concur with that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, we have, is that your motion then?
Yes, thank
Do
you.
we have a second? We second by Supervisor Dick.
No.
Oh, well.
I'm a no. Before we get a second, I'm not really sure we need to do that. We've been through it at our meeting.
Okay, but I'm trying to get a second.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to second the motion, go to an executive session? Nobody does, so motion is failed.
No further comment.
Thank you. No, yes.
Yes, I just want to restate that that I'm satisfied. I think the renewed effort, perhaps to our chambers, that we have a business set aside, that we've only received one application so far, and that we have an open door to applications I'm satisfied with that. I mean, if the business community is not responding, I'm not sure why they haven't responded, because I know there's a number of businesses that were significantly impacted by this. But again, if they're going to reach out once again to the business community and let them know that we have a set aside, it's $1 million,
Yeah.
and that the business communities, please, that we're welcome to receive applications. I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Bramer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Last word.
Because we're not going into executive session, I need to dance a tightrope to speak about some of the information that I have, and I'm not comfortable providing all the information that I do have. There are risks associated with this grant. Without being able to go into executive session, I'm not at liberty to speak about those risks. And as such, I would implore the board to reconsider, but if they don't, then I must say no because of the fact of these risks that aren't understood by this board. And I support this funding, but there's consequences that everyone needs to understand. And because of that, I don't think we're making the best decision we can. So, Mr. Chairman, I have no more I can say. I wish I could, but I cannot do that due to confidentiality that I was requested to by Mr. Miller. And it's your choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer.
Last word. I do want to make 2 points. I want to mention that there are community members on the ARPA committee, and one of them is an executive director of a chamber in our region. So it's Mr. Biddle. So he can certainly help us get the word out to address the concern of my supervisor colleague from Bolton. And secondly, I do want to mention 2 things, since there's a concern about a little bit about the details, which these are totally public. I have no concern sharing them. During COVID, if you'll remember back to that first summer, everything shut down. And that's a big part of the Dome's business, is that summer business. And he was not able, that business was not able to operate at all. And even as they got going, it was still very restricted as to what teams that they could bring in from certain regions. And, it was not like they were getting a lot of money. And on the other side, there were businesses who, yes, they've been financially impacted. They fortunately were able to get PPP and other federal pandemic resources. So I think maybe that is some of the reason that businesses haven't yet applied. But we're, like I said, there's still, the application is open. They're welcome to apply. And the other thing I want to remind everybody about, which is public, is that we got that freaky snowstorm at the beginning of December of that year, and the Dome had to, do an emergency shutdown. And so then even during their winter season, they weren't able to be open because the Dome was down, and they weren't able to make any money during that time as well. So it was really like a double whammy, crushing their business and their financial resources. And I would ask the supervisors to support this. In addition, about the legal concerns, we are continuing to work under the financial restraints of the ARPA dollars. I know that Mr. Moore and Mr. Ellman and our county treasurer have been working carefully to make sure that we don't have any missteps in how we're spending the money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this on 260?
It is. I
really need to
I
wrap
just
this
want to
up.
reiterate, I'm satisfied with the response from the co-chair that she's going to reach out to the chambers once again. I'm more than satisfied with that. But I will say, given the almost appeal by my colleague from Queensbury, that if his motion is still on the floor, I feel obliged to second that motion to go into an executive session. On over 12 years on this board, I don't know that I've ever heard an appeal for an executive session like that. So
So we have it. So are you going to second the
I
motion?
will second that motion now. I think that based on the strong appeal from my colleague that,
right.
that there are matters that.
We have
he
a
needs-
motion. We have a second. Those.
We have
Super-
discussion?
Discussion. Well, yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to ask for discussion. Would you like me? Okay, discussion on motion going executive session based on the reason given by the administrator and confirmed by the county attorney. Discussion, Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. I am completely opposed to going into executive session for this, and to the supervisor from Bolton's comment, I recall a very passionate speech that I gave once to go into executive session and was denied. So I don't think it's unprecedented, and I certainly don't want to bring that up. So I am just asking this board here today to consider the fact that we spent so much time at the ARPA meeting. Some of these, I think, concerns could be addressed ahead of time, and I don't necessarily appreciate the inference that I, as a supervisor making this vote, do not understand the rules or the complications of our actions. I do understand what we're doing moving forward. I am fully prepared to make this vote, and I oppose executive session at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, then let's vote. You want to do it a voice or you want to do roll call?
Roll call.
Roll call. There you go.
Mrs. Frazier,
Is this to go into
To
executive?
go into executive session.
No.
Mr. Guarachi,
No.
Mr. Dickinson,
No.
Mr. Merlino,
No.
Mr. Stroud,
No.
Mr. Wild,
Yes, if it matters.
Mr. McGowan,
No.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
No.
Mr. McDevitt,
No.
Ms. Bramer,
No.
Mr. Bruno,
No.
Mr. Driscoll,
No. No, I don't care.
Chairman Gary.
Yes.
He has struggled in
The vote fails with a vote of 256 in favor and 624 opposed and 122 absent.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Any other Supervisor McGowan, did you want to discuss another resolution?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Which one?
Number 246. I was there for the committee meetings, and I stated that I have a little problem with these pay increases for the first, I guess, assistant. Am I able to say that? Out of the realm of the process of how I was told how to do it. And then I was told that obviously I only hear what I want to hear. But I believe that there was a couple different ways, and I was told there's really anybody that's going to be getting raises due to the fact that their job, descriptions have changed and this and that, really needs to go through the budget process so we can budget this in there. And so I feel very uncomfortable on that resolution. And on top of that, for the county attorney is also increasing a base salary, even though I agree in how the position goes and why we're doing this to get, to kill two birds with one stone in a sense of words. But I was told when I tried to get some more money for an employee who's gone above and beyond for the last 10 years in their job description. And it was brought on previously by Supervisor Bramer in doing it. And I was completely shut down and told to go back to the beginning. And I found that very upsetting. And I was also very upset and when I was told that I only hear what I want to hear, but what I do see is what I see. So I just needed to state that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussions on resolutions?
Yes, on that resolution, please.
240.
Chairman, yes, it's on 246. You know, I support this resolution. I'm very, very frustrated by the process. As everyone knows, I had tried, like my colleague from Queensberry mentioned earlier, to bring forward a resolution to fairly compensate one of our employees. And I'm happy to do that here for this one. I'm not going to put forward an objection just because I'm frustrated by the process. I do want to go through that process that we have said now several times that the process for increasing someone's salary in between the budget process is to go to the oversight committee, then it goes to personnel and finance, and then to the full board of supervisors. This will be at least the second increase to an employee mid-year. We have gone through it with this individual once this passes, and then another time with our another employee earlier this year. We have often taken our employees' word that certain employees and their positions are deserving of an increase. We want to honor our employees and make sure that they are felt supported. And we didn't take months and months. We didn't drag people through the mud. These people, we haven't gone into executive session to discuss their particular performance. We just said, this is the job description that they had, this is what they're doing, and they deserve to have an increase based on that. And for certain supervisors to tell Supervisor McGowan and myself that the process wasn't done correctly, it was done correctly. We went through the oversight committee and it passed. We went to personnel and we tried to get it through finance for this particular individual. So to tell us that that was incorrect was wrong, and it was hurtful to the employee. And worse, even worse, was that some supervisors said, well, we don't like the supervisors who brought forward the resolution. You are punishing a department head because you don't like the supervisor who brought it forward. That is embarrassing. It is embarrassing, and it should not have stood. And I will not be bringing it forward again. I hope to heavens that this is brought through honestly and sincerely through the budget committee, because you are hurting an employee for no good reason. Thank you.
Thank you. 240, Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just need some clarity. Are we talking about one position, assistant public defender? Or do we have two number one public defender assistants? That's what the resolution states here. It says the base salary that I have for one assistant public defender effective May 23rd is $97,310. And just below that, it says we have a first assistant public defender. Effective date would be May 23rd, 2022, $102,000. I just need to know, are we talking about two independent people or one?
This is one individual, and the way the resolution it reads is, if you look at the first underlined part, it's increasing the salary from the 97,310, increasing the salary to the 102,53.
Thank you. I apologize.
Sure.
Any other discussions on 246?
Right here.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah. Just because it goes to committee doesn't mean it's an automatic yes. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an automatic no. And what garners my voting committee is first of all, to know that it's going through the process. The second is that it has support of the budget officer, that it has the support of the county administrator, and then I listen to the argument. And if those three legs of the stool are all in place, I'm usually pretty good with it. So, I mean, that's the only response that I have as a supervisor in terms of how I either vote in committee or how I vote on the board. And when it lacks one or all of that, and if the argument I don't feel is then it doesn't have my support. And I can only speak for myself. I don't need to be abstract and generalize either this board or the process. I'm speaking for me as a voting member of this body. Those are the things that I take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Last word on 246, Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you. I felt a little rushed there, and I'm sorry that I was maybe going in an area that everybody felt a little comfortable. But they also, too, I wanted to bring up the fact is, Mr. Daly's speech earlier, of asking for more money in DPW employees and that. So, and here we are just handing our money over. So it doesn't make us look good without doing the process for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan. Okay, any discussions, any other requests for roll calls on any Supervisor Seaver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With all due respect to Chairman Gerasi, on resolution 221, I would ask for a roll call. During committee, I asked for additional information regarding this intermunicipal agreement. I don't see the contract attached to this. I know we talked about a draft one in committee, but since that time, I've also had an opportunity to do a little bit of research into it. I don't feel I have enough information today. I didn't feel I had enough information at committee. I abstained at that time and had hoped to learn more. So I'll be abstaining from this vote today. It is not an agreement we have with other counties, and it's something that I still had questions about responding to situations of individuals in crisis and just need more information on it. So if we could have a roll call, please.
Thank you. Any other discussions on resolutions? Supervisor Diamond.
One more question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On 221, have we heard back from Saratoga County in regards to this intermunicipal resolution that we're proposing today? I know that the sheriff had mentioned to us previously when we discussed this in the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee that this was an idea that the sheriff from Saratoga County had proposed. We talked in great detail about if there's any cost associated to it or not. I'm okay with the resolution, the language, but the question is, have they adopted this formally yet? Because they presented this to us for our help.
Supervisor Drossy, do we know how this came about?
I believe it was generated from Saratoga County, request to Sheriff LaFar. I honestly, I don't see any significant issues with this. This is a typical law enforcement cooperation and collaboration between counties. I think, if every county asks for that, it could get a little cumbersome, but I don't see anything unusual about this.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Seaver, last word.
It's interesting, all of a sudden we have last words. Last year, we could not do a last word to save our lives. So thank you. I
think you
appreciate
had-
the opportunity.
Did you see the contract?
I have seen the draft contract, but the question before us today is, has Saratoga County adopted this resolution since they're the ones requesting it of us? I don't believe that they have. But I also know that we don't have this type of an agreement with Washington County or Essex County. And I think the sheriff told us they haven't requested it.
Right.
So, as you mentioned, Chairman Jossi, you're right. I may get cumbersome, but I'm still unclear on the reasons for the request behind it. And I don't see where Saratoga adopted it first. So I just think it would be in better order to have, that request be adopted by their board and then come to us or simultaneously. I don't know if you want to table it until such time or if you're comfortable going forward, but either way, I want to make sure I did my homework on it. And
I appreciate that. I am comfortable. I would ask the county administrator, attorney, did you see anything in the contract that would be of concern?
I've not even myself been the one reviewing that to see, so I don't recall anything from what brief glance I may have given to it. I can't recall off the top of my head anything with this at all. I certainly would be interested in checking with the sheriff and see if there's any specifics that are needed with this or anything for the contract, but unfortunately, I can't really give you any input on this.
Really certain there's no budget implications on this, and it's a collaborative law enforcement relationship that is being requested.
Okay. All right, Supervisor McGowan on this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I have to kind of agree with my colleague to my right here. If Saratoga has presented this to us and they haven't adopted this, are we jumping the gun? And I would like to see if they haven't done it and we are a little, I would feel more comfortable is reading more into it and possibly just tabling it or holding it off until they've adopted it because they're the one that presented it to us. Is that what I'm hearing?
I know this was vetted in committee. I know that it was talked about in committee. I didn't know that if there's further information that is pending or needed. It wouldn't have gone forward if there'd been pending information needed. So did you get any?
I talked to the clerk of the board in Saratoga County as well as the undersheriff and they were not, they didn't know whether that they had adopted it yet.
So we don't know if Saratoga County is adopted. Is this on the same resolution, Supervisor Wild?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, may I speak?
Sure.
In order to move this forward, I'd like to make a motion that we modify this and that it's pursuant upon agreement by Saratoga County. And that way it doesn't put us in a box. We can still go forward with this and demonstrate to Saratoga County that we're moving forward.
Are you placing in that as an amendment to
Yes,
this?
yes, I am.
So we have an amendment by Supervisor Wild to amend 221 approval based on the Saratoga County. Do we have a second to that amendment? Supervisor McGowan? Any further discussion on that amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of amending resolution 221, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, discussion on other resolutions. All right, any public comment on resolutions now? No.
Hi, Chairman Gary. No, there's nothing on resolutions.
Okay, let's go. Let's vote. We got all the roll calls in, correct? Everybody, nobody? Okay, yes, Supervisor Seaver.
I just withdraw my request for a roll call then, given the modification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Sarah, you're up.
Resolution number 214, making supplemental appropriation. Ms. Fraser,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Mr. Molino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
and Gary.
Yes.
Resolution number 215, amend Warren County budget for 2022 for various departments within Warren County. Ms. Fraser,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Mr. Molino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes. Sorry.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution 246,
21. No.
amending tables of organization in Warren County salary schedule and compensation plan for 2022. Ms. Fraser,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Mr. Molino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
I'm a little confused here, because I didn't follow. 240,
246.
did we have 221?
Supervisor
No.
Seaver
She withdrew.
withdrew her
Oh, you
request.
withdrew, all right, sorry, so I was getting confused here. So 246, no.
Ms. Seaver,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
No.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
No.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passed. Number 250, authorizing appropriation of funds from the Environmental Testing Reserve Fund to the Department of Public Works budget to pay Atlantic Testing Testing Laboratories for asbestos project monitoring fees for the abatement of the Mosher's Garage for Town of Johnsburg, tax map parcel number 133.8-1-27, and amending 2022 Warren County budget.
May we combine 250 and 251 under one vote? Yes. You're happy with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
It's
Okay.
good.
Yes.
250, 251 can be combined. One roll call.
Ms. Fraser?
Yes.
Mr. Karachi?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Hesitant, no, yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Ms. Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Chairman Garrity?
Yes.
Resolution number 252.
Can- Yeah, can 252, 53, 54, 55 be combined, their capital projects? Is everybody okay with one?
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Yep.
Good, yep.
Okay, so it'd be 52, 53, 54, 55.
Ms. Fraser?
Yes.
Mr. Barachi?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Sprout?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
No.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Chairman Garrity?
Yes. 256, yeah.
Authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the mental health administration budget to cover the cost of court-ordered CPL 730 expenses and amending 2022 Warren County budget. Ms. Fraser?
Yes.
Mr. Karachi?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
No.
Ms. Seaver?
No.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
You don't want to pay your bill?
Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Chairman Garrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 262. Authorizing ARPA funds disbursement to Adirondack Sports Complex LLC. Ms. Fraser?
Yes.
Mr. Karachi?
Yes.
Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
No.
McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
I was a yes, but I'm going to have to vote no because of apparent information that's being withheld. I vote no.
Mr. Leggett?
No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Chairman Garrett?
Yes. Corrected?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, announcements. Supervisor, we'll go right around the road. Supervisor Bramer, number one.
Thank you. This is really privileged of the floor, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Thank you. I do have a separate announcement later. One is the gas tax cap that was raised earlier. I really hope that the board will support this unanimously. I think it's a really important thing that we try to help our residents and the consumers in the county during this very difficult time. It's only a few cents. I do think it will add up and make a difference for people. And luckily for us, since we missed the first deadline, we'll still be able to collect this tax over the summer while our tourists are here, and then it can go into effect on September 1 when people are still going to be hurting. And you know, it did come through the state. It's also gone through a variety of different counties throughout the state: Saratoga County, Suffolk County, Westchester County, Ulster County, Erie County. And again, I want to say Saratoga County has already passed this, and it will go into effect for them on June 1. So I really hope that we do this. It's the right thing to do for our residents. Secondly, it has come to my attention that the ethics board is meeting privately without noticing that to the public. And I am very disturbed by that, Chairman. And I would ask that we consider either a resolution directing that they hold their meetings subject to open meetings law, where they will notice that they are meeting and then go into executive session or have attorney sessions, whatever they need to do. Or that if you don't want to take a resolution on that today, that we send that through our legislative and government ops committee so that they can take up whether there needs to be some sort of resolution amending our local law. That was never my intent last year when we worked on the ethics law, to have the ethics board meeting without the public knowing, without the supervisors even knowing. We did put that in place, that board in place, to assist the supervisors and provide advisory opinions. It's my position that even though those are advisory positions and the Board of Ethics cannot take any, direct actions on some of those things, that should still be transparent to the public that they are meeting. And I would really like to see the Board of Supervisors take that up. If not today in a resolution from the floor, then in the future very soon. Thank you.
Certainly, we'll move it along. At first I heard of it. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Announcement? Did you have an announcement too?
I just wanted to say congratulations to my fellow attorney colleague from Glens Falls for being appointed to the Board of SUNY Adirondack, as well as another colleague, Diana Palmer, Dr. Diana Palmer, who's also on the Board of SUNY Adirondack now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think Dennis, you had your hand up.
I did. First off, I want to thank you for the moment of silence for Fred Austin. When I was here from 79 to 84, Fred was here. He was a wonderful guy. He was a go-getter, and he was the real go-to guy for the county board. Anything. It didn't have to be DPW. If they had an issue, they took it to Fred. Fred knew everybody. He was very good at negotiating situations. He could tell some really raunchy, dirty jokes. And he could tell some really bad fifth grade jokes. But he was always a character, and he is a bright guy, and he's been on the board of directors for the Fort William Henry for a long time, and he is a ghost guy. He really believes strongly. And paranormal. He took tourists, gave tours to people who wanted to go through the fort.
William Henry, yeah.
I could tell you I didn't go. I'm scared enough of the dark without him putting it. And finally, at Fred's request, there were no calling hours, no funeral arrangement. He donated his body to science, and they won't get it back for a couple of years. But what he wanted was typical Fred. He wanted to have a celebration of life for Fred. So shortly, they're working on it now. Shortly, there will be a notice of Fred's celebration of life, and it'll be at Fort William Henry. Thank you.
Yes. Supervisor Stroud.
I just have to second what Dennis said. I worked with Fred on the French and Indian War Society at Lake George for a couple of decades. And what he knew about our local history was phenomenal. He also did lead the ghost tours and showed where the French and Indian War soldiers were still walking around. But Fred Austin just had a demeanor, a very pleasant person. And I agree, he'll be missed.
Thank you. Anybody else? Supervisor Siebert.
Thank you. To add on to the supervisors before me, I just wanted to highlight that last year we did present Fred. We had the opportunity to do it through the Fort William Henry, a Warren County Strong Certificate, and honored his service and his dedication to the county. And I know we sent some information out about that, but I just want to let you know that we were able to do that and present it directly to Fred. So that was nice.
Thank you. Oh, okay, Mr. Driscoll and then Mr. Bruno.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Monday, May 30th is Memorial Day. Supervisor Stroh has been involved with that committee in organizing the Glens Falls Queensberry Parade. It's going to be taking place again this year. I know that a number of other communities are having their own programs, but I think we've always invited everyone from Warren County to participate in that program. And that's the end of my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Supervisor Stroh, Dickinson, et cetera, regarding Fred Austin. I'd known Fred for the better part of 50 years. He was a very good engineer. He supported me, helped me in my profession, and also knowing him personally, he was funny, and my wife and I both knew him very well. He'll be sorely missed. So thank you.
Dan, did you not work with him at Rest Frost?
No, I was there just after him. I'm not quite as old as he was.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Announcement.
One announcement, sure.
Thank you. The town of Chester will be hosting the Memorial Day Parade on Monday, the 30th, starting at 10 o'clock up in the hamlet of Pottersville. All are welcome to come, attend, march with us if you'd like, or be on the sidelines and catch the candy. Thank you.
Yes. Warrensburg's parade steps off at 9 a.m. And also, you know, when you see the veterans out selling the poppies, it doesn't hurt to stop and purchase a poppy, you know, and thank them for their service, because it is important. And they are aging out, you know, and a lot of the veterans organizations struggle now because people are aging out. But I think this is Memorial Day is a very important day to all our people of it. So anybody else today? And I appreciate everybody. And yes, Dennis.
I have a personal announcement, and I'm going to make it anyway.
Okay.
I sold my surveying business a week ago, 45 years. It was a great business and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed all my clients, and the surveying company of Dara Surveyors.
Okay.
Bought it. We should all be familiar with them. They do almost all of Warren County surveying. So I'm officially retired.
Congratulations. How about a motion to adjourn on that note?
A motion to adjourn.
A motion by Supervisor Dickinson to adjourn. Thank you.